Welcome. I'm Ann Pittman. I'm a yoga therapist and an author sitting in Ottawa, Canada. And on behalf of the Women's Writers Collective in Yoga Therapy, I welcome you all here today. I also welcome future listeners to the recording that we make together today. So if you're listening to us from the future, how wonderful. Thank you for coming. It is my great delight today to be speaking today with Leila Stuart, who is the author of Experiential Anatomy. And I will begin by reading Leila's introduction, her very humble bio, actually. But as a way of creating the context for today, we'll be in conversation with Leila for about an hour, and then we'll have half an hour afterwards to pepper her with questions. So if you have lots of questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We've got Marilyn here who's adjudicating the tech. Thank you, Marilyn, for that. And also a great thank you to Shawnee and Rachel, who continue to be the strong women who are, making sure we're all paddling the boat in the same direction. So many thanks to both of you as always. And just a reminder too, if you don't mind, to keep yourself muted for that first hour, and then we want to hear from you for sure. All right, here we go with Leila. I don't know what it's like for you, Leila, to listen to this, but I think this is a very, very humble bio. With a lifelong passion for movement of all types and decades of experience as a clinical massage therapist and international trainer of yoga teachers and therapists, Leila is a pioneer in the field of embodied movement and awareness education, for sure. She opened one of the first dedicated yoga therapy studios in Canada, where for 15 years she developed and taught the anatomy of yoga therapy, an innovative 300-hour yoga therapy training program. Leila is based in British Columbia, Canada. Kind of far away from me, believe it or not, in Canada. Hello, Leila. It's very, very good to see you. And thank you for making time for this. I have so much to ask you. I just want to delve deep into this book, but I think to begin, we've agreed that a practice might be best. Would you take us to the practice?
I would. I would. So, this is a practice that I love to teach. And usually, when I teach experiential anatomy, we go through the actual anatomy first so people can learn something about it, and then we do a practice. But with this one, which I call the heart hug practice, I'm just going to quickly show you a visual of a cross section of this part of you so that you can see the orientation of the heart in relationship to the lungs. So here we go. Okay, so this is the cross section. So this is the outside of your body. This is the vertebra in the back. There's the little button that you feel on the back. Here's the heart in front in the blue, and some the sternum and clavicle. I'm not sure if that's the clavicle. But what's important here is the shape of the lungs around the heart. It forms a heart around the heart. Yeah? And so when the heart is embraced by the lungs. And mostly when we think about the breath, we're thinking about the external expansion of the lungs. But what we tend not to remember is that the lungs are also expanding inwardly toward the heart and are hugging it every single time we inhale. So I'd like you to remember that visual as you take your hands onto your heart. I invite you to do this. And as usual, first just becoming present with yourself, feeling your hands on your heart, from the inside, feeling your heart being held by your hands. Maybe you can feel your heartbeat. Maybe you can feel your breath moving your hands. So take a moment to experience the outward expansion of the lungs as you inhale, feeling for the expansion to the front and to the back and to the sides, the armpits. And with each exhalation, there's a condensing toward the midline. And then bring to mind that cross-section and how your lungs are actually embracing your heart. And for these next several breaths, as you inhale, imagine that inward expansion of the lungs, so that with each inhalation, your lungs are hugging your heart. You are hugging yourself. And at first it may be a purely physical sensation, but then it may start trickling down into a feeling place for you. And what does that feel like for you to be embracing you? To be hugging yourself with every breath. How does that change things? So I invite you to remember this, and anytime it's available, anytime you need to come a little closer to yourself. So gradually turning your attention to your breath in a more expansive way, your breath filling your body, entering and leaving your nostrils. Slowly taking one hand at a time away from your chest. And containing the feeling that you've created as you slowly open your eyes and come back into the Zoom room.
Mm.
Welcome back.
So helpful. Oh my goodness. Well, let's dive into this incredible book and your perspective on embodiment too. If people are expecting a neutral journalistic interview, you're not going to find it here. I'm unabashedly in love with this book and its author too. And this is a very important book, very much needed, and so beautiful. And in fact, I would like to start there if you don't mind. I just want to look at the table of contents and just give you an idea of how this book is laid out. So when you get your fingers on it, it'll be familiar to, oh, nice one. It'll be familiar to everybody shows up the book. But it's so brilliant that I want to start here, which is the way this is organized around anatomy, but in every you could say something that is being studied, let's say the feet. Leela starts with the Coshic perspectives on every part of the anatomy. I mean, that says a lot to start there. And then there's this trifecta that I love, which is learn it in all of the anatomy, learn it, feel it, heal it. So it gives us a chance to, learn about the anatomy and all of the research that's in this book, and of course, all of your lived experience, Leela, but then a chance to feel it for ourselves, which I think is very different and very important. And then the idea that given this knowledge and this embodiment, you might be able to play with your own patterns, as well as know yourself differently. And then, of course, the therapeutic applications and kosha contemplations, and the whole thing beginning with the groundwork of the kosha model, interoception, neuroplasticity, pain science, and then how to teach this. How can we bring this information to people in a very different way? And maybe that will be my first question, actually, is this title, Experiential Anatomy. I mean, what's non-experiential anatomy, and why did we need a book called Experiential Anatomy? Leela.
All right. Well, I'm sure that there's some people in this room right now who learned anatomy in the traditional way, which is you learn the names of things, you can identify the innervations and actions of the muscles and where everything is and what the functions are.
Mhm.
And I spent 2,000 hours learning all of that in massage college. And when I got out, I thought, yeah, well, so what, really?
Mm.
How is this useful to the person that I'm working with? And the same year that I graduated, I was introduced to experiential anatomy in the body mind centering tradition. And I thought I was hit nirvana. Really, because all of a sudden everything made sense. I could feel these things in my own body, and then I could translate that for other people because I had felt that in my own body. And so my my treatment as a massage therapist became very interactive.
Mm.
Instead of just me doing something to someone on the table, it became a collaborative experience where, and I think I'd always had the idea in my mind, or I just naturally assumed that the person had agency and that they were the boss of their own body, and you know, and that I was just there to guide them to heal themselves. And so, experiential anatomy, in the way that I have come to understand it, is, and I think a lot about this, because my definition has definitely changed a lot over the years. And so I was thinking about this just the last few days. Well, how am I going to articulate this now? And what came to mind is that it's really a way for me to guide people or invite people to inhabit their physical structure in a way that is meaningful to them, in a way that they can become present to themselves, to their experience, their thoughts, their emotions, their beliefs, their cultural background, whatever it is, in a way that helps them to be present and responsive in an authentic way. so that when, and this is what I have found over and over and over with people, all the people that I've trained and taught over the years, is that they feel more themselves. They feel more themselves, and when they're themselves, then they have access to their resources, their own resources, and their authenticity, so that they can respond more from a real place, from an authentic, true place, than from their conditioned patterns. I mean, and then when they do respond or react from their patterns, they recognize that and go, oh, okay, there I go again. And what also comes out of this way of teaching anatomy is a deep respect and for oneself, a deep respect and a deep compassion for oneself. And that seems to be something that spontaneously arises when people do this work. All of a sudden, they want to be kinder to themselves. It's quite extraordinary.
It is. It's as though, through this work, you return people to themselves. Yeah. And, I think you said the word translator. I actually think that would be a really great word to describe you, that
Thank you.
you are translating. And I wonder, do you think that it's, your work in massage first, like your work actually touching tissue and feeling bone and sensing into organs? I mean, was that an important doorway to this work?
Absolutely, absolutely, because I came to know from both sides. I came to know from the outside, feeling in, and then from the work, from the inside, feeling out. And because, I mean, like many of us here, I'm quite a sensitive person, and uh, and so I was always very aware of, maybe hyper aware of myself and hyper aware of other people and what they were feeling, and so what I have discovered with this, I guess, translating, is that because I have experienced these things myself at such a deep level, that I can articulate them in a way that people go, oh, right. And and then they, and so it's not like, oh, you should be feeling this, you should be feeling that. It's an open invitation, but because of the way I teach things, it's an exploration, it's an inquiry, and there's no wrong answers, right? It's all your experience, and your experience can change, and that's what people really come to, is that, oh, well, this was my experience, but as I do this work and I continue to have this awareness throughout my day, then how I am in my body changes, how I am in my relationship with myself or with others changes. And aren't I fascinating?
Aren't I
Aren't I
fascinating?
fascinating, right? I'm so interesting. I mean, and it really, it's kind of like the image that I've come up with is it's kind of like when a baby starts discovering itself. It's like, oh, my toes, I can get my toes in my mouth. Oh, look what I can do. Oh, my hands, you know? And that's what it's like, because as you know, most of us tend, and as yoga teachers and therapists, we know people tend to live from the neck up. And so this work is inviting people to dive down. And when you dive down, then what's up here becomes more true, I guess.
Oh, oh, that's beautifully said. It's beautifully said. I'm turning now to one of the first lines that you say here. When asked what I do, the short answer is I teach awareness. Isn't that a beautiful yogic answer? I teach awareness. Then the fuller answer is that I empower people to become active participants in their healing process using experiential anatomy to access their deeper self. This is such an unusual book. And Leila, can you guess which chapter is my favorite? Guess.
Organs?
Yes. Yes, it's organs because I mean, so much of this work is really novel, I think, in terms of our time. You are such a pioneer in this work, but I'm so thrilled that there's a chapter on organs, as though because this is like the missing, like this stuff inside us, as though it doesn't have intelligence or a presence, and that you lead us into an awareness of organs and initiating movement from organs. Oh, can you say more about that?
Yes. Yes. I love teaching organs. And in fact, in the semester of classes I'm teaching right now, which is 11 weeks on yoga and metabolic health, we've just spent the last 5 weeks on the organs that are involved in metabolism. And um, it's a way, like when people realize that they're carrying around, 16 pounds of organs that are like, oh, I don't have my water-filled balloons here right now, but I make water-filled balloons as representative of the organs and ask people to experience, what if you had 16 pounds of these stuffed into a gym bag, into a cloth gym bag? That would give a certain kind of, not rigidity, but fullness and uprightness. And that's exactly what's happening. And your intestines are right in your back and they're right in your sides. And the organs fill, your lungs go up to just above the clavicles and all the way down to your pelvic diamond. Like, we're full and we don't think about that. And so what that means is that most people are hauling their organs around from their musculoskeletal system. And that takes a lot of effort and energy that doesn't need to go there. And so when people experience their organs and they start to experience an inner fullness and a support from the inside so that the structure can relax into that support. And with organs, because of the compression inside, there's a buoyancy. So there's a buoyancy, but there's also an earthiness to organs. And so in the way that I teach experiential anatomy, it's really about skills, like learning the skills of, well, how do I center myself? How do I ground myself? How do I access my inner fullness, right? And so that's what happened. And I'll just tell a little story here. I was at a conference where I was teaching, and it was in an outdoor area, and I was late for my class, and I was rushing through the forest, and all of a and all of a sudden, I realized that, oh, that's what I'm doing, and that I have this organ body that can support me. So in a nanosecond, I had gone from to, oh, my heart and my lungs and everything else is supporting me. And I just slowed down. I walked slowly in calmness, enjoying the beauty around me, and arrived ready to teach in a relaxed kind of way. So it can be that quick, right? And that's what I love about this work, is that people build a toolkit of resources that they can pull out in any moment. It's not just about, oh, remember to breathe when you're anxious. It's about, well, what if I tune into my pelvic diamond, and as I breathe, imagine it expand, visualize it expanding, or whatever it is. If I find myself out here because I'm having a difficult conversation, I can recall my atlanto-occipital joint and center my awareness there, and all of a sudden
Yeah.
I'm in presence and I'm in witness. So
Uh-huh.
it can be that fast.
Yeah, it's kind of like a remembering, like just in the way of that word, like to bring the members back and our awareness, our deep awareness in it too. Yeah. Oh, well, also in this book, just to let people know, I mean, this is a wealth. You could, I don't know if it'd be great to, I think you actually have this possibility to actually go through all of these together because the amount of practice and inquiry and exploration in this book is unbelievable. And you also have recorded videos and audios that are accessible from this book too. Amazing. But in this book, you do tell us a little bit about the origin story, but I would love to hear it from you. Like with regard to a time where you weren't well,
Yeah,
that this was there was that there's something in the unwellness story that brings this book to you.
yeah. Okay, so I was introduced to experiential anatomy in 1989 when I graduated from massage college. And so I started teaching workshops called the Body Project. So incorporating yoga and experiential anatomy and things in specific body parts. And then in 2001, I got really sick. I burnt out. I didn't know that at the time, but several years later, I realized I just burnt out because I was working way too hard and overdoing and overgiving and all of that, overworking. And plus, I I came down also expressed extensive systemic inflammatory arthritis. So I was crippled and I was sleeping 16 hours a day and dead the rest of the time. But this is my studio and it's in my house. So I could still crawl out of bed, crawl down the stairs and teach, and then crawl back upstairs and back to bed. And I had to give up my practice as a massage therapist, which was the most difficult thing I had ever done because I loved my work, I loved my people, and I was often a therapist of last resort for people. So I felt great responsibility when I had to give all of that up. But one of my students said to me, Leila, you've been talking for years about about wanting to teach uh, an experiential anatomy, a therapy course. And in my type A personality, I thought, oh yeah, well I'm not working as much as I was, so why don't I do that? So I still now, from this perspective, don't know how I did it. And I probably made myself a lot sicker for a lot longer because I did it. But it ended up here with 2 books, right? So what happened was that I thought I would teach one semester on experiential anatomy. And I think there were 17 people that signed up for it. But after about 2 weeks, I realized this is not a 13-week program. It's at least a year. And so I put it out to everyone, and we continued with it. And and then it expanded from a 1 year to a 2 year, and then the last cohort was 3 years, so over 640 contact hours. So a lot of hours, um, and I know we spoke about this and last week when we were talking about what we were going to say, but what was so important for me in the creation of it and in the refining and refining and refining over the years, over all the cohorts, uh, which it ended up in a 600-page manual. And that manual became the book, or a part of it, part of the manual became the book. And what happened for me so I was sick for maybe 17 years, you know, really, really sick for 11 or 12 years and then starting to come out. And I'll just give a shout out to Ayurveda for my healing. Um, but the process of writing the book, of doing all of the practices, helped me come out of that place. Because even though I was feeling like a normal, pretty normal person again, and I was able to be out in the world again, I'd lost my mojo. Like I didn't know how to be in the world when I'd been out of it for so long. People came to me. I didn't go out, and I could always control what was happening in my own space. And so what I realized after I wrote the book, and I put this in as the afterword, I think, or the foreword, because I didn't realize it until it was just about to go to print, is that by doing all of the practices over and over and over again, I got myself back. Just like people throughout the years have said that about themselves, I got myself back. My own work got me back, and I became the person that I was meant to be. You know, the bright and confident. And I mean, not that I'm always confident, but I had just lost any confidence in myself and what I was presenting to the world. And so that's what happened. And
It's
and
like you reach a real stop sign somewhere, right? Like
yeah.
you can't be out in the world in the same way. Did it bring you more in then if
Oh,
you couldn't be out?
absolutely, absolutely. Because what I came to be teaching in that course was one eye in and one eye out. Like
Ah,
when you're teaching, one eye in, one eye out,
that's beautiful.
so that you always, as much as possible. And I say that to myself because I was not born a grounded person, right? I was not born a centered person. Like my father used to say about me, you just got excited about everything. you know so not in my, yeah, I was definitely rebirthed. Yeah, definitely rebirthed. Thank you, Lamore. Yeah. And so I'm very grateful for that. And yes, I became more embodied than I ever have been. And I look at that time of being sick, as being in the cocoon,
Mm.
so that something new, like the caterpillar dissolves in the cocoon and the butterfly slowly is formed and then emerges. And so when I was sick, that's the image that I use. People would say, well, how are you doing? I say, well, I'm still liquefied,
Oh,
or, well, I'm forming my wings, and, or the cocoon's open, but my wings are all wet. I'm not ready to fly.
ah.
Yeah. So
Well,
now I feel like I'm ready to fly.
and I'm guessing that that gives you a sensitivity to other people
Oh,
who are in that kind of place where they're just something's happening, something's shifting, or they're being drawn inwards for some reason in
yeah,
that way, or haven't yet found, their ground.
yeah, yeah. And I learned so many lessons
Mm.
from that, about what is my actual capacity,
Mm.
and having mercy on myself. And I think that all comes out in the book, because although it is a sort of natural arising of self-compassion, I was able to articulate that in a way that people really get, because when we feel ourselves, when we touch ourselves, like people don't touch themselves, when we touch ourselves, when we listen to ourselves, then something shifts, and then you're with all of you, the parts that you judge, the parts that are beautiful, you access all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a compassion-soaked book, certainly. And from, I'm sure, your lived experience in that way. What can I wonder a little bit with you about, the word somatic?
Mm.
Uh, because, well, isn't it being used a lot? I mean, I remember a time, we both remember a time we were like, SOMA.
Yeah.
No one knew what it was. So, what do you think is misunderstood, though, about the word somatic?
Hmm. Well, I'm going to back up a little bit and
Mhm.
say that the people that I have been blessed to study with,
Mm,
right from the get-go when I was in my late teens and attracted to movement and dance, every single person that came into my life in that way had a mind-body perspective. And
mm,
so that was back in the 70s. So it was just emerging. And we didn't have that word. It was, mind, body, or it was just, a way of teaching or dancing or whatever. And and then nowadays there's somatic everything. And it drives me nuts because the word somatic is being used to describe anything that has to do with the body,
yeah.
really. And what it misses is the point that soma is the lived body. It's the lived body, the moving, breathing, feeling, believing body that is the totality of that person. My movement teacher of over 35 years whose whose practice was called, and she trademarked it, embodied practice, um, used to say, "Can you bring?" And this is from her teacher, Charlotte Selver of sensory awareness frame. Can you bring all of yourself to this movement? Can you bring all of yourself to this movement? And she also said, and I'll just quote her, and this is in my book, she died just as the book was going to press. So I was able to say, can you put a dedication? I mean, I had already dedicated it to her, but she had just died. So, but her quote, and she even forgot that she said this when I, when I, when I told her how impactful it had been. She said, teaching people to be in their bodies is a radical political act because when you teach people to be in their bodies, they cannot be controlled. And to me, that says everything about what somatic really means.
Mm,
It leads people to their power, to their own power and resources.
mm.
Yeah.
Is somatic for you, is it interchangeable with embodied? Is there any nuance between the two? I drive people crazy with this,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah. I like
What
the
is
word
embodied?
I like the word embodied better than I
Oh,
use the word embodied more than I use the word somatic because embodied has a warmth to it. Somatic has a bit of an edge to it, in my humble
yeah.
opinion. And embodied, I mean, you can even when you say the word, you can embodied, right?
Yeah. It's got a movement. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And it's got a fullness to it. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
mean, who knows, maybe it'll be thrown around like somatic in a couple of years too. We don't know, but
Well, we'll get ready for that.
yeah.
I I mean, how people ask me this all the time, like how do people do yoga unembodied? What are you talking about?
Well, I think that, yeah, we see this a lot. And whenever I travel, I like to go to yoga classes, and I always go to a beginner yoga class. And I must say, I'm shocked at what people call beginner yoga classes.
Hmm.
But it's unfortunately, and we saw this transition in the 90s, There were those of us who were steeped in the tradition, and then in the 90s, all of a sudden, there was subscription studios, and $99 a year, and you got to go to a whole bunch of classes, and so we lost the relationship with the teacher, which was so important. We and yoga became commodified. So instead of a practice that leads us to ourselves, that leads to self-realization, it became a practice to get better abs or build your glutes or maybe calm your mind. But it became more performative and more intellectually oriented. So the deep richness of the tradition was whitewashed out of it, and it became yoga aerobics. It became yoga aerobics, and oh yeah, I do yoga, and posture after oh yeah, the whole vinyasa thing. Like, how can you tune into yourself when you're going from one pose to another pose to another pose? And I mean, not that you can't, but, and this is what I say to people, yeah, learn the experiential anatomy first and then take it into your sport, your vinyasa, whatever it is that you are doing with your body, but carry that awareness with you, so that it becomes alive. It's not just doing something, it's living. When you want to be a living movement, right?
Mhm.
You carry that a movement that expresses who you are and that is part of your life, not just 14 reps of chaturanga. I
Yeah.
don't even do that or teach it.
No, I'm sure you don't. It's making me think that this idea of prescriptive yoga therapy. I mean, how could that even work? Like it misses the person completely in a way, right? It'll it develops the pattern of only seeing yourself from the outside
Yeah, yeah,
and someone else is the expert on your lived experience and your
yeah,
awareness. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I definitely, Charlotta, when I see a private client, I I say to them, you are like a puzzle. We have all of these different pieces. I'm going to do some assessment. It's going to give us some of those pieces, but I don't have the front of the box.
Mm.
I don't know what the picture is. And so together we're going to figure out which pieces fit
Mm.
together, and then from that we build the picture.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
together, and then they're involved in it. And yeah, but what is interesting is that when I do like a physical assessment on someone, and I say, well, because this is like that and that is like that, I would suspect that you might be experiencing this. And they go, oh yeah, yeah. you know,
How did you know?
yeah, 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 yeah. So, but then it's a confirmation for them. So it's all about them, you know. Like my sister said once about going to Puncher Karma. She said, "It's so great because it's all about you," and that's the way. That's the way I think about working with people. Is it's all about you,
Mhm.
and you're the
Yeah.
one who's living in this body, and you're the one who's experiencing it, and so you tell me what we need to do.
Yeah. And I'm coming back to thinking about, organs and all of the practices here, that there's also this way that you have of introducing, well, of course, information, but a little bit of novelty, right? So that because otherwise it's so hard to become aware of your own patterns. Like to say, as you do in this book, well, let's if we could move from our heart and lungs, how would that move our arms? And
Yeah,
even if it's just imagined, and the fact that it's just a novel idea can kind of just shift the pattern itself.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one of my favorite books these days is Better in Every Sense
Oh,
by Norman Farb and his colleague, um, whose name I can't remember at the moment. And Norman Farb was one of the first people to do a lot of research on interoception. And in the book, they collaborated a lot. The other guy has done a lot of work, or he's one of the founders of cognitive behavioral therapy or something like that.
no.
They've done a lot of work with anxiety and depression and disorders like that.
Mhm.
And so they talk about how the the default mode network is our house of habit. Yeah, and that's where we go most of the time. And it's very self-referential. And um, um, but when we introduce novelty through sensing, any kind of sensing, you know, experiential anatomy is just one kind of sensing. It could be sensing visually or um, touching or whatever. Um, oh, thanks, Marilyn. Um, that dials down the default mode network and dials up the more integrative part of our networks of our brain so that we are more open to possibilities, we're more able to discern differences between things and to make better decisions. I mean, that's part of the interoceptive network. And that's
Mm.
why we want to, in this work, improve the inputs into that interoceptive network, which includes visceral sensation, which includes proprioception, which includes the special senses, and all of that goes and goes to the the ins, ins, the insula and all the anterior cingulate gyrus and all those places with inputs from um, the limbic system and from the prefrontal cortex. And what ends up is we make better decisions about self-regulation.
Mm.
And so that's the magic of awareness and feeling and experiential anatomy, is that the end result is better self-regulation. Yeah, so
Oh, I could
that's
listen to you
good.
talk about that forever. That's your interoception is your favorite section, it sounds like.
Yes,
I want I
definitely.
want to, not to center this too, in that like the firmament of this book is yoga philosophy, and we're not talking about not yoga philosophy when we're talking about interoception.
Yeah.
And you really have a strong foundation in this book on the koshas. And can you tell us a little bit more why you really centered the koshas in this book?
Mm. Well, the framework of the koshas is really the framework of embodiment, right? And so what I say is that the body is the doorway. It's accessible. Everybody has one, and thanks, Jen. Everyone has one, and it's easy for people to focus on their feet, or to, after they get a little information about what the neck vertebra looks like, that they can feel the vertebra in their neck and all of that then that becomes a skill, a physical skill. But then when they start doing that, so let's take the feet for as an example. The practice that I created is called finding footing on all levels, and so using the 3 points on the feet, that the weight of the upper body is goes into the ground is in the shape of a triangle. And so when people are educated to know something about that and then to feel it on their own feet and then to start figuring out what their own pattern of weight distribution is, and then they start practicing the practice called finding footing, or I just call it foot triangles in the book. But then they start to experience, oh, when I stand in my foot triangles, I don't have back pain. Or when I stand in my foot triangles, don't mess with me, right? Yeah, people, because when we have a stronger and more stable physical foundation, then we have more steadiness, more sthira in mentally and emotionally and in ourselves. And so that's why. And I should say that when I first started teaching this stuff, I had no idea. I thought that people's backaches would improve, or their digestive issues, or their headaches, or whatever it was. And that happened, but people kept coming to me and saying, well, this is happening. Like I'm not fighting with my kids so much, or, I feel more confident, or whatever it was, non-physical. It was the feedback from the students and from myself.
Mhm.
Like I remember very specifically in one class teaching some standing poses with the foot triangles, and people saying, wow, like I really feel like a warrior, and that really tweaked me to, this is really powerful work. It's not just physical, it's on all levels. And so that's how I started teaching. And people love to understand about their multidimensionality. They really do. It becomes, I mean, like I say, people are really interested in themselves, right? It's like, aren't I fascinating? On all levels. And so when people understand the multidimensionality of themselves, and that each of the parts, yeah, each of the parts can lead them to a deeper part of themselves, and that each part, for example, arms reaching out, pushing away, that's what becomes interesting. Not just how strong am I when I pick up a weight. And I mean, not that there's anything wrong. Yes, we want to be able to pick up our suitcases and our kids and our grandkids and stuff like that. But it becomes, when I'm aware that my arms start musculoskeletally at my midline,
Mm.
right, through the clavicles and through the muscles in the back to the midline. And when I move from there, wow, is my movement ever different? And when I reach out to shake someone's hand, I'm really saying hello to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or I could do that from my heart.
Well, or you could choose, right? You could shake
That's
someone's hand and protect your heart if you needed to as well, right?
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And so I love when people have studied with me for some time, and some people have been coming to this studio since I opened it in 1999, that they have choices, that when they reach their arm out, they can do it energetically. They can think about their scapula sliding. They can think about their clavicle hinging. They can think about being connected to their heart. They can, yeah. So there's choices, and the more choices we have, the more freedom we have, as Moshe Feldenkrais said.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. That's so beautifully said. I I am aware of the time, and it's almost time for your questions. So I hope you're writing some questions. I haven't been watching the chat at all. So I hope you have some good questions for Leila as we come into the second part of our journey here today. But before we finish this first hour, because the recording will be turned off in a few minutes, I just want to be sure that everyone has a sense of the next time. So we're going to stay with Leila and ask her some more questions and wonder together. But just to know that on June 17th at 12 o'clock, our next author is Joanne Lutz, and her book is Trauma Healing in the Yoga Zone, a guide for mental health professionals, yoga therapists, and teachers. And Joanne Spence will be interviewing Joanne. It's a Joanne party apparently on June 17th at 12 o'clock Eastern Time. And then Leila, what was the piece that you wanted to share with regard to the book for these folks?
Yeah, well, uh, I'll be at the Sitar conference next week, as many of you will be. And Singing Dragon has a, bye Sherry. Singing Dragon has offered a 25% discount for the book. And so that's available. And also on my website, and I think Marilyn's going to put up the link in the chat, you can download a free chapter from on the neck from that book, and also a couple of chapters from my first book, um, uh, Pathways to a Centered Body on the psoas that I co-wrote with Donna Fari. So there's lots of resources on the website. And I should say, if everyone is okay, I'm good with the recording going on during the questions, because I think there's excellent questions that happen, and it would be a wonderful thing to be able to share all of that. So I think, and if you want to ask a question and you don't want to be on camera, then you can turn your camera off.
Okay, let's go with that. So please just raise your hand if you have a question, or write a question in the chat. But while you're thinking, I want to return to something, the psoas actually, because you're known for the psoas, I think, uh, particular because of that book and your work in that book. And I saw just a great video that you made the other day on the psoas. I mean, let's just say Leela's on the socials now. You know, she's making her way around the socials. And this great, because I love it when you point out, what, our pattern of understanding, and then give us something more to think about it. So you were talking about, the psoas, and you're showing us the anatomy and those beautiful rubber psoas tissues. And you're saying,
No,
yeah,
no problem, Shani. No problem.
okay. And that they're known for hip flexion. Let's just say that we have a pattern of knowing about that. And your capacity to show us about the support of the psoas, and how, when you feel them and know them, I'm not sure if feeling them has to be in it, but like just being able to sense or know them, or even imagine for the time being the possibility of the support that lifts from the psoas. I mean, that was just a gorgeous thing. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about the psoas, given that was your early focus?
Yeah, well, I just taught in May a three-part SOAS workshop for Yoga Campus, and so the whole Instagram thing was I did a whole bunch of short videos on different aspects of the SOAS,
Yeah.
and it went viral. I mean, three of them are over 100,000 views. I mean, it's crazy. But what it shows me is how hungry people are for this information.
Yeah.
Like to be in themselves, to be, because we're so, I think, like in this world, we're so drawn out all the time. We're being compared, how do you look on camera, and all of that, again, the performative part of it. And it's exhausting.
Yes.
It's exhausting. And so when people feel themselves, and for that particular one, feeling that inner support, it's like, oh, there I am. There I am. And when I'm here, then I have a sense of discernment about what it is I want to bring into my life. I'm not going to be scrolling all the time because I can feel how detrimental that is to my being. Right? So I set
Yeah.
my, so I set myself my times or whatever. And that's what I found with the SOAS. Again, the first book was drawn from a segment of my training, and I think maybe we did 30 hours or something on the on the SOAS, like a lot of time on the SOAS. And and I would say that that segment of the training was the most transformational for people because they really got a sense of this is me, here I am,
Mhm.
I can be in my power and I can be in my stillness when I develop a felt sense of my psoas muscles.
Mhm.
And it's because it's so tied into all the other physiological systems. You know, the nervous system isn't part of the nervous system is embedded in it. You know,
Yeah.
it's the organs sit on it. The kidneys ride up and down with every breath. You know, the digestive system is right there. There's a conversation with the gut brain and the psoas and the tone of the and the respiratory system. I mean, the psoas and the diaphragm are intertwined. And so everything is affected, they affect and are affected by each other. And the tone of the psoas and the diaphragm affects the tone of the organs. And so people's irritable bowel syndrome can, when they access the psoas. And of course now we're in a constant state of arousal in this world right now. Not only are we sitting a lot of the time, but we're in that constant state of arousal, and the psoas is the first is the muscle is the fight or flight muscle. It's the muscle that takes us into fight or flight or fetal position. And so when we're in that constant state of what did I read this morning about dribbling chronic stress. I mean, it's always dribbling in, right? And so we're always in this we're all in this state of nervous system arousal, and so the psoas is always in tension, and that's going to affect the physiology of it. And yeah, so I think it's the myofascial structure in the body with its sister, sisters, the the pelvic floor and the respiratory diaphragm that have the most to do with our embodiment.
Mm.
So when we touch into those, when we develop a felt sense of those structures, then we can become much more embodied,
Mm.
more so than our trapezius muscles, for example.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting that there might be some that are more of a gateway
Yeah,
with regard to awareness too. I think you ended that video. It was so beautiful. I think you had a moment of looking right at the camera and you said, because you were talking about this, the support of the psoas, and it's the felt sense of you supporting you.
yeah, yeah,
That's so beautiful.
yeah. At the throughout the years that I taught the course, we collected people's experiences by the
Mm.
end of that SOAS segment, and what people experienced. And I mean, it was amazing the shifts that people went through from. And one woman, I remember she was sitting right here in the corner, and she was just exuding this Buddha-like quality by the end of it. It's like, so, Buddha quality, or some people access their anger, and other people who were angry people were able to modulate their anger. And um, people who didn't value themselves started valuing themselves. My own particular experience was I had a history, a programming as a woman as a woman born in the 50s, of always giving my power up to male. And in a situation that happened once, I realized I was doing that. And again, in that nanosecond, I found my psoas muscles, and all of a sudden I was speaking to this person as an equal. Yeah, so it's that kind of shift that
Yeah.
can happen. Yeah.
Well, that can also give you the agency, the options, if you recognize them, right? If you can
Yeah.
become aware.
Yeah.
I have a personal question for you. Uh,
Yes.
so all of this work, especially in the 17 years that you were drawn inward, I'm thinking, what do you, how do you feel like you embody yourself just in a day-to-day way? Like if you're just walking around, do you think you're more of is it an area or is it a system that you would maybe dominate in, or what do you think?
Well, when I was 19, I really badly injured my back,
Hmm.
and that brought me into
Yeah,
constant body awareness
yeah,
for many years. I mean, that's when I discovered yoga too, because yoga is this thing that's supposed to help your back. And so it did, every morning I could get myself out of pain. But um, can you repeat your question? Oh yeah, how am
yeah,
I? How am I? Yeah, so
yeah,
so that, and I think, because I was a sensitive child, I've always been very aware of myself, and so now in the world, I'm always like, when I'm reaching for something, I'm aware of where I'm reaching from. Or when I'm walking, I'm aware of walking with my foot triangles or my psoas. Like, I'm always in the choice.
yeah,
I'm always in the choice. And because I'm not a grounded person, or I wasn't born, then when I'm like right now, I'm very aware that, oh, I have a home for my witness and I can be there. And oh, I have a home for my sense of self in my pelvis, and so I can be there. So I'm better than I was, that's for sure. And hopefully by the end I'll be fully embodied, and then there won't be any point because I'll be leaving.
yeah. It sounds also like maybe these aren't different things, but you're also aware of being able to articulate it through the coaches in a way. Like you're mostly in monomaya as you're walking down the street, and then you think, oh,
Yeah.
maybe I come somewhere else so that I can feel that sense of anandamaya or anamaya,
Yeah,
that
I
you.
think I think that after having taught from a koshic perspective for as many years as I have, that it's a natural thing for me to tune into my breath or my energy level. And of course, being sick for that long, again, this hyper awareness of how I was feeling and what my energy levels are, and is this within my capacity right now? And yeah, so I think yeah, I mean, it comes back to the awareness,
Mm,
right? And awareness is awareness is awareness. So when you start with the physical, then it's natural to have more capacity to be aware of what's going on in the mind, and what's going on in the emotions, and what's going on in the energetically. And yeah, and I think, I mean, many of us teach from the koshas, and I teach over and over and over again the same thing, and we spiral up. So if we do a semester on the values, or on the whatever, on the the chakras or whatever,
Gracious.
yeah, kleshas, whatever we're doing, it just keeps reinforcing and reinforcing a way of being in the
Mm,
world that is multidimensional. Yeah.
mm,
And I love to be in my head, and I'm very aware of that. And
mhm.
so, and so, and so it's a practice for me to come back into my body.
So how did when you write, do you write from that place? Like, how do you embody your writing self? What?
Oh, that was, I credit my writing coach for
Mm,
that. Yeah, 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 my writing coach, Leila Stuart, because I was in a really bad place writing the book and stuck. And,
mm,
um, and she does embodied coaching. So she got me into my body to experience what I was experiencing. Well, where is that, and what does that feel? What does that feel like? And then always I was absolutely shocked at what emerged, like what that frustration was, right? Like
mm.
where it was leading me, and so that was very helpful. And the practices that she gave me were embodied breathing practices, and I learned to take breaks and come in here and jump on my rebounder or do some yoga or whatever to bring myself back. And also walking, like just walking around my studio here thinking or going for a walk, and that's when great ideas came, or ways of putting things together was, or when I was swimming or whatever. So I think, yeah, embodied writing is the way to go for sure.
Isn't
Otherwise
that
you're
amazing?
stuck. Otherwise you're just stuck in your head, in the
I
swamp.
wonder, I wonder what the book would be like if you'd written it just being stuck in your head.
Oh, it would be a different book.
It
It
would
would
be
be
a
a
different
different book.
book.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, Aggie was she was a lifesaver. Yeah, and I.
So what now do you think? Like what, gonna write another book for us?
Well, the SOAS book, unfortunately, is out of print because the publisher went bankrupt. Well, stopped being in business. So I have talked to Singing Dragon about them republishing the book with some changes, and I would be very happy for that because I think it is an important book, and it should be out there. I have lots of copies if anyone's interested. um, so that, and also people have been. I actually love writing. Um, it was just that hard part, which Aggie helped me to see is part of the writing process.
Mm.
um, that people have been encouraging me to write something about my time of being sick and of healing, because it was a very profound experience, and very few people recover from chronic fatigue and psoriatic arthritis. And
I would like to read
yeah,
that one too.
I can do full lotus. I can stand on my head. Yeah.
But when you were sick, did you have times where you didn't think that was ever going to be regained or ever possible? Like there must have been
Yeah.
a very challenging time.
It was. I felt like I was taken down to zero.
Mm.
Yeah, like I couldn't be anything. Yeah, Charlotte, you're next. And, um, but in a healing session, I drew an angel card that said, "You are already healed." And at that time, I went, "Oh yeah, right." But that stuck in my head. That stuck in my head, and so the whole time I was sick, I kept coming back. You are already healed, and then that really brought me to the yogic perception of there is a part of us that is never sick.
Yeah.
There is a part of us that is always whole. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. Charlotte, you have a question?
And beauty.
Yeah, hi. So thank you, Leila. Wow, incredible. I have to read your book. I feel I know you so well after spending time with you at Vajragrama, but I've never read any of your books, so I need to do that now. I'm always sitting with this kind of conflict when talking and thinking and writing about yoga, which is exactly the same conflict, interestingly, that you said right at the beginning, both of you, is, yoga's not asana. Let's just start there, right? And yet, obviously, 17 years of the illness, which you've spoken to me about as well, really shocks us into this vehicle is so important, that this vehicle functions, and this vehicle it isn't a bother. It functions so that we can use it, and we can. I guess my question, I think the interview did go there a little way, is with the experiential anatomy. When we talk to people about feeling ourselves from our physical body, I'd like to believe that that's actually it's not only to ground ourselves, but it's also to understand ourselves as more than our body. I know you've touched on this, but I was wondering if you could take us there a little while, maybe with an example. I'm often fascinated by back pain, for example. You get quite a lot of clients with back pain, and there often seems to be a similar sort of emotional reason, or for this back pain, and that the body keeps the score. Let's use that term, and that it's a great litmus test of what's going on the other koshas. So, just to expand, am I making any sense to you?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that
the
experiential anatomy is a helpful map for us for us as a bigger element, as something more than the body.
Yeah.
So
great question.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. The body is the doorway, and take the example of back pain. When people are introduced, what I find is that when people are introduced to the koshic model, then they start thinking of themselves within that framework. And so if in a session, like the way I would work with experiential anatomy is I would teach them I would show them the skeleton, I would teach them something about it, and I would palpate it on them so they could feel it, and then teach them some things so that they could feel it from the inside. And teaching them about the koshas is one thing, but what seems to happen is that when people are in that physical experience, that the other koshas naturally arise. So, issues in the tissues, whatever, so people in back pain usually have areas that are clumps, the individual vertebra don't articulate. And so with the practices, they start to get a sense for each one can articulate. I can move individually from each one. What that does is then force and movement can sequence better through that area. So there's more freedom, and the prana starts flowing, and then they start flowing. Their energy starts flowing in a different way, and they go, oh, I don't need to be doing that anymore, or that's a stupid belief. Like, it seems to arise naturally, but having the framework of the koshas and understanding, so in the book, the chapter on the back, it's like, okay, well, these are some of the possible metaphors that you could be living in your spine, like steel, military posture, or collapse, or whatever. And so it takes it out of blame or shaming to just, this could be a possibility. So does that answer your question? I mean, the body's the doorway, but they need to have heard about the framework of the koshas.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, great.
I think awareness is awareness should be a t-shirt. Um, in the absence of any other questions, but please interrupt me if you do have a question. Can you tell us a little bit what you're doing at Sitar? Like what's up?
Oh my, I'm a busy girl at Sitar. So this group, the Women's Writer Collective in Yoga Therapy, has a table. So we'll have our books there. So that's one thing. I'm going to be leading an afternoon practice, and I'm going to be doing it on the foot triangles, finding footing in this world where we all need help, and then Sherry, no, Shawnee and Sean. Sherry's got a separate table in the round table, but Shawnee and Stephanie and I have a roundtable discussion on writing in yoga therapy. Yeah, so, and I'll be floating around a lot. Yeah. Oh, and the author table, I'll be right. So there was at the last sitar I was at 2 years ago, there was a terrible snafu. My book had just been published. I had never seen it. I was supposed to see it there, and one copy showed up at the book table. So that was this whole lost opportunity. So I went to the author table to be signing books, and my name was gone. And I
Oh,
went to the singing dragon guy and I said, "Where's my name tag?" He says, "Oh, I gave it to someone. I gave it to someone else." And I said, "Well, there's one copy. He'd sold it."
that's
And
painful.
so I luckily I had bookmarks, and so I was handing them out, and then finally someone came by and said, "Oh, I'm so excited! I bought your book." I said, "You bought my book?
Oh, he found them.
Can I borrow that book for the rest of the conference?" So it's my opportunity to also sign books.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, I'm so glad that you'll have that. Jan has a question, I think,
Yeah.
just
Hi.
as we're
Oh,
toward wrapping up.
hi there. I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi. Thanks so much for your wonderful talk. And you've given so much food for thought to me that I'm going to have a lot to chew on, which is great. Just a quick question, but perhaps demanding of a big answer. I work with a lot of traumatized folks who have multiple physical ailments and restrictions. And I'm just wondering if you have encountered folks who are really reluctant to focus on their bodies because of the restrictions and the pain, shall we say, that they are experiencing. Is there a way that you find to offer compassionate kindness and cultivate that kindness within to be okay with one's body, such as it is, in order to begin the work of using the body as that gateway? Thanks for your thoughts.
Yeah, great question, and something I didn't touch in on yet. When I started teaching this material, trauma-informed yoga was not a big thing, or therapy was not a big thing. And we didn't have the language. Yeah. But over these past couple of decades now, we've got polyvagal theory, we've got attachment theory. I mean, those are older things, but they've just become more known. And we have somatic experiencing. We have all of these things. So when I started teaching this, and we didn't screen for trauma, right? And so there would be people in my classes, I didn't know that they had a trauma background, but those people started coming to me and saying that I am healing from this work. And what I realized is that it's a backdoor kind of way. We're not directly addressing the trauma, but we're asking people to become present. And for those people who have a lot of stuff going on, we want to, titrate. We want to be working within a window of tolerance, and often that can start with the feet. Yeah, because it's far enough away from any other, trauma full area. So starting with the feet can be a very good place, and that in itself can help people to for their bodies to become more balanced physically, and then some of their pain may start to decrease, some of their digestive issues may start to decrease, just from the simple skill of standing more balanced in their feet, which will then help the pelvis to be in a more neutral place, which will help the spine to be able to arise. And so it's what I have found is that working with the experiential anatomy, not directly addressing the trauma, seems to work for a lot of people. And I'll give an example. One of my trainee students, I didn't know she had a trauma background. And, but what she said is that, and her story is in the book, that when I grew up, everything was so uncertain, and I didn't know what was coming from where, and I didn't know what grounding was, and I didn't know what centering was, and I didn't even know what being in my body was. And she said, and that's what this work has given me. She said, when I learned about my femur, I could say, this is my femur, and I can count on my femur, my femur. And so through the process of working with different body parts, people become more embodied, they have more agency, they become more themselves. And so as long as it's approached in a way that isn't, we're going to deal with your trauma. I mean, not that anyone would do that anyways, but just like your feet are your foundation. Like, to make it more neutral makes a big difference. Or when your arm is when you experience your arm connected to your spine, or you differentiate movement at the joint from movement of the scapula, and how that brings you to your midline. I mean, then, like I was saying to Charlotta, the things just naturally arise without being directly addressed. And so feet are a good place to start. Arms can be a good place to start, because then we can start, with things like, can we transfer force from our hands, as we push away from the wall? Can we transfer force through the middle of our wrist joint, elbow joint, shoulder joint, down the spine to the sitting bones? And then that becomes empowering for them. So, yeah, and then, I mean, the physical thing, there's so many physical things, because those trauma bodies are so stressed, and the stress affects every single system. So when we bring more sthira and more sukha through the body, then that translates to every single system and into their mind. So yeah, it's just and it's a matter, because the person is always the person in control, then nothing is imposed, and they become empowered that way. I'll just give one example of someone who came to me with severe depression, and all I did was take her limbs one at a time and feed them into her center, and pull them out. Feed them into her center and pull them out. And then I got her to resist that. So I would want to pull out, she'd resist it. So, and by the end of the hour, she was back home. So it can be that simple. teaching people that they can move from their center, that, that brings them more into their center. So does that answer your question, John, or do you have a follow-up?
I appreciate the suggestions, especially with working from the feet or focusing on the feet. That seems to land with my experience as well as a safe starting place. So yeah, I appreciate that, and I like the additional points you've been raising. So thank you very much. Yes, it does.
Okay.
Thanks for the question, Jan. That was grand.
Okay.
And I'm realizing that we're coming to the ending of our time. And thank you all for staying, for being, people in a group. And it's just delightful. So we'll come to a good ending in some way. Thanking you, Leila, of course, for your time and your labor. And, even more than excited that this book is in the world, I'm relieved. That's the felt sense of it. It's just like, oh, yes, it's in the world. Wonderful. So thank you all for joining, and remember, come back to us towards the end of June for another session. And for those of you going to Sitar, have a wonderful time, and remember some of us who are not able to come, and we'll come together again soon, I hope. Thanks for.
And thank you, Marilyn, and thank you, Anne. And Marilyn, I think you put in the chat the discount code and all
Yeah,
of that. Yeah, great.
it's all there.
Okay.
It's all there.
All right. Well, I
That's a
hope to
wrap.
see some of you soon, next week soon.